Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Ridgecrest City Council. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. with our roll call.
Mayor Bruin,
Here.
Mr. Blades,
Present.
Mr. Rajawatno.
Present.
I had my speaker on. So I need to go. Mr. Heyman.
Present.
Gorman,
You got to be gentle with it.
5 present. We have a quorum.
The microphones sometimes are cooperative and sometimes not. I have, next on our item is our approval of our agenda. I do have one change to the agenda. We are going to move item number 7. No, item number 6, sorry. I want to make sure I said that right. Item number 6 is going to become item number 3 in order to accommodate letting guests who have other things to do have the rest of their evening back before we debate many other things. And outside of that change, are there any other changes requested to the agenda? Hearing none, do I have an approval of the agenda with that single change?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Roll call.
Mayor Bruin,
Aye.
Mr. Blades.
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam.
Aye.
Mr. Heyman.
Aye.
Mr. Gorman.
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Great. Now if I can ask everyone to please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Wes, why don't you lead us? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Councilman Rajaratnam.
Please join me in prayer if you would. Lord, thank you for giving us this day. Lord, thank you for the city of Ridgecrest, which we live and cherish. Lord, thank you for the opportunity you have given to us to serve on this council, Lord. Lord, may we be good stewards of this community and its resources. Lord, thank you for the city manager and the city staff and the entire city council. As we work for the development of this community, Lord, give us your direction and your wisdom. Lord, I pray for our country. Lord, bless this country, give the leaders of this country right direction. Pray for our troops who are in harm's way, protect them from all evil. I pray for our law enforcement officers, Lord. Protect them as they protect this community, Lord. Pray for all the voluntary organizations we have in this community. Lord, thank you for the service which they provide to this community to make our lives better, Lord. Bless each one of us here. And Lord, as we proceed this meeting, Lord, give us your wisdom to discuss the matter and make right decisions which are beneficial to this community. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so first up tonight, we have a presentation from our Ridgecrest Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, RACVB. Carrie, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Mayor. Oh, yay. Thank you for having me. I am here tonight to present the RACVB's annual report. The Ridgecrest Tourism and Improvement District requires that the RACVB submit an annual report to the council each year, so I'm here to do that tonight. You have the report in your packet. That document is forward-looking, so that will cover 2023. But I also have a presentation which kind of highlights what we did in 2022. And so that's a video we're going to play for you. And it pretty much speaks for itself, but I'll be available if there's any questions after. Thank you.
I was just getting into that.
The sound's off. They're trying to re-pipe the sound. Apologies for temporary technical difficulties.
So Carrie, you may just have to just speak through this whole thing.
It's been, guys, it's only been.
Q by Dolce & Gabbana for him.
And the new fragrance for her.
Meaning it could create itself. Websites making websites. Websites making websites.
It's the singularity. You did it, Adam Driver.
You did it, Adam Driver!
We were gone for quite a while. But no matter what happens next, the galaxy still needs its guardians.
A lot of people say that Ridgecrest is just another city in the desert. But most people don't know Ridgecrest like I know Ridgecrest. A place for adventure. A place for community. A place to grow. A place with unlimited possibilities. A place to smile. A place to connect. And a place for life. Come join us at GoRidgecrest.com.
Well, thank you for that, Carrie. Is there, if I can have you come back up, Carrie, if there's any other questions that the council may have. Thank you for a great presentation. Love seeing the film and so many of the industry coming back up. I'm trying to remember what it was that I watched over the weekend, but I could have swore it was Ridgecrest, and I wasn't.
Super Bowl?
No, it was a Mark Rober. Now I can remember. It was Mark Rober trying to do the highest egg drop from space.
Yeah.
Was that us?
It was in the area, but we did not permit that, no. But I saw that video too.
I saw the video, and I'm like, I know that backyard.
Yeah, exactly.
But thank you. Is there any members of the council that have any questions for the RACVB? Questions or comments?
No questions, just a comment. Just I think you guys have done an impressive amount of work to continually pitch this area, and I appreciate all of your efforts.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good job. Very well put together. So the presentation is very nice. I read this one, so you are doing a good job. Thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to concur. This was an impressive video, and I'm really pleased with some of the earlier slides moved kind of quick, but was it 5,000 visitors and was that in a 1 year total time frame? Or?
It was the 2022 calendar year.
Okay.
It was like 49. It was just under 500 or 5,000.
That's pretty fantastic. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is great.
Carrie, we've come a long way from Cycle Chicks and Zombieland, which Denise was in, by the way. The video we just saw, thank you for that, high quality stuff. The homage to Matrix, what part of the Valley was offered there?
So I'm thinking you're
Pinnacle's right in the
referring to the Squarespace commercial that was featured in the Super Bowls or the Super Bowl.
Yes.
They did that at the Pinnacles.
Oh, Pinnacles. Gotcha.
I do want to mention that you had a Star Wars actor somewhere in this town, and I did not know about it. I'm not all that thrilled with you at the moment, but outside of that, it was spectacular to see.
Here's the secret. Adam Driver wasn't actually here.
That's what I
All
guessed.
those lookalikes were, and then they just put his face
That's what I
on.
guessed.
I would have let you
You
know.
wouldn't have done that to me. I'm pretty sure. I mean, come on. So, once again, to all the staff, RACB, thank you. If you have not, as a citizen, stopped by the California Welcome Center, take 5 minutes. Go and check it out. They've got an incredible VR display of our community. They've got a lot of other resources that are coming together. And more we're going to see it continue to grow over the years as we continue to build out Ridgecrest. So thank you very much, Carrie.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is public comment of items not on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the council on matters that are within the council's jurisdiction and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time. Council will not respond to any public comments, but may provide direction to staff to collect information. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the City Council may not act on any item that does not appear on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes, and the public comment section of the agenda is limited to a total of 1 hour. Each speaker is asked to provide his or her name. I want to thank the crowd that we have here. We always appreciate seeing our citizens come out. And I will go and open the floor for public comment. Mr. Corlett, I see approaching.
Two things. My first is this thing on? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Several years ago, I made a request to the city council that you have a handicap ramp installed at the entrance of Pearson Park, the corner of Luma and Hermosa. About a year later, I was told that the city had investigated it and determined that the law only required one handicap entrance per park, and the fact that it was a block from the entrance was immaterial, so the city wouldn't do anything. So I came back last spring, to the committee that Parks and Recs is under, and made a request of you guys then for a handicap entrance to the Pearson Park. But it did not get passed on to staff. So I'm here again for my fourth request that the city install a handicap ramp at the entrance of Pearson Park at the corner of Luma and Hermosa. I think it's well overdue. You have one on the southwest corner, so people can come across the street, but they cannot get up to the end of the park on the corner of Luma and Hermosa. So I'm requesting again, a request for a handicap ramp at the entrance of Pearson Park. Okay, the other thing is, I think your approach to putting restrooms in at Pearson Park is asinine. You're doing it in secrecy. You're not taking the heat from the public. You're not informing the public of what you're up to. So I think you're destroying the council's credibility by doing it that way. You need to honor previous commitments made by previous councils and previous staff on where those bathrooms would be located. And you need to look at who's using them. The porta potties that are here now are used primarily by business people and commercial drivers that stop on downs and use those porta potties. They're not really used much by anybody else. So if you put bathrooms, permanent bathrooms in Pearson Park, anywhere but where there's access to downs, then all those commercial drivers will be going around on Luma and Hermosa and what other streets and parking and competing with people that use the park for parking. So you need to put some thought into this and not take the easy way out and put them where it's easy to get to the sewer system, but put them where they're going to benefit the people that use them. That's my comments. Do you have questions?
Well, Mr. Collette, we don't engage back, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one of us reach back out to you from the Quality of Life Committee, because I apologize, sir, I don't remember that coming to Quality of Life last year. And
you were there.
I'm sure I was, and I'm being apologetic in advance.
And your partner cohort was not, but.
Okay. Yeah, again, I know that the work that's being talked about in Pearson Park is being talked in Quality of Life and has yet to even come before council for other discussions yet. But I will definitely take your inputs, and they're not falling on deaf ears.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment from the floor? Seeing none, okay. Do I have any public comment on the phones? Appears not. I'm going to give it just a moment. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on with council announcements and direction. And again, because part of our process is that we don't want to typically engage with public comment, we want to give you the chance to speak. I do apologize if that did come up and I did not push it through staff. That's 100% on me, and I will correct that. So I'll take full accountability for that. Next is any other council announcements or direction?
No, I don't. Well, I have an announcement, but before I give my announcement, I guess I'll just direction. I know that you have been working at length, Travis. Sorry, I didn't say that to the public. Travis, I know you've been working at length with coming up with a plan for all entrances and ADA compliance. And so I'm assuming, or I'm guessing, that you have already thought about other areas, especially the parks. Is that true? Is it already?
So I actually didn't know about Leroy. Came and visited me in my office probably, about 2 weeks ago, and showed me quite a few locations that he's traveled down there without ramps, as well as the one in the park. And with any kind of restroom path, we're going to have a path of travel to it. So that is definitely the only actual entrance to the park is actually double utilized as a drainage swale for where the sump area can drain out into the road. So he's 100% correct. We definitely need to do something to make more accessibility, especially to the two walking paths that come up to that road. It just makes sense to have an entrance there.
But it's something that's in your plan and something.
It'll be something that gets addressed as soon as we have some work going on out there. Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for that, Travis. And then my comment is that coming up, the City of Ridgecrest, the staff has for the general plan, the housing element is going to come up in the next Planning Commission meeting. And I'm sure everybody's wondering, why is that important to me? Well, if you're a stakeholder within the community, you're going to want to make it to the next planning commission meeting. Because this update, like let's just say, and I'm just using for example, I'm freewheeling here, but if there's property that it makes sense to be zoned differently, it's time to bring it up in this next planning commission meeting. And that process is going to go on for the better part of a year. So if you're a stakeholder in the community, please attend, please be a part of this process, because that very first meeting is going to gauge interest. That will decide if there's other breakout meetings. The staff has been very accommodating. It's a process that needs to be gone through. We have a consultant that's going to walk us through. So that next meeting it's on February the 28th. So please show up. This plan is going to be for about 1,400 units between 23 and 31. So please show up. It's important. I'm guessing anybody, not just landowners, realtors, you name it. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Solomon?
I have one announcement. Economic Outlook Conference coming up on the 23rd of this month. So it will be very informative. It will give information on what is happening in this community and what our future would be. And it's not at Carnegie Center because it has been at Carnegie. People might show up there. So it is at Desert Empire Fairgrounds. So tickets are available at Chamber of Commerce if you need those. And I read in the newspaper, Cyrils Valley Minerals completed 150 years. I want to congratulate them and being a part of this community during the past several years. So thank you for your hard work. Whoever is helming the affairs at Cyrils Valley Minerals. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Scott?
Done.
Skip. Okay. One last one, just as an announcement. We still have to obviously look through the item this evening, but on the 25th, there's going to be a hiring fair for all of the local law enforcement agencies. And hopefully, if everything goes as we hope this evening, then we will have 7 new positions for our local department to be considered. And we certainly would encourage anybody who's interested in serving our community and joining our law enforcement team that they would consider coming out to that fair on the 25th. One last thing was, of course, I want a huge shout out and compliment to our city staff. Megan, Mackenzie, and Isabel, they worked their backsides off. City Manager Ron Strand worked, and then so many of our staff was out there helping at Night on Balsam. Night on Balsam was brought to you by Measure P. It's the first effort of us revitalizing some community events, and we had some lessons learned. Everyone who came out, and we ran out of wine, I know, after an hour and a half. We got more, we figured it out. We had a great evening for the entire 4 hours. The food vendors were fantastic. I didn't mention RACVB, sorry. I didn't look to my left, but you guys were a huge player and appreciate all of your help immensely on Night on Balsam. The city came together. The city, the people that really have cared about this community and wanted to see this came together to do the first. But the key about a first is there always needs to be a second. Any good movie has a good sequel. And so stay tuned. We're far, far from done. This was a start. Okay, so thank you to everyone and look for more details. Actually, I'm gonna go one more. Since I have the mic, and I'm gonna do one more thing. 2 years ago, in January of 2021, one of the first meetings we had here, we talked about communication with the citizenship. And we said, it will be the commitment of this council to improve communication with our community over the next 2 years. And I gotta tell you, seeing 2,000 to 3,000 people out for a Friday night on Balsam was more unequivocal proof that we have worked our backsides off to make that communication happen, and we are far from done on how far we want to take that communication. You as citizens have a right to the information of your city and to see and know what your city is doing. and we're committed to delivering that to you. And the number of different media channels was proof positive that we have followed through on that commitment, and we're excited to see it, and we're going to continue to do that and following through on what we committed to. So thank you, community, for coming out. Thank you for endorsing that that's working. We appreciate it. Okay. With the next one, we will move on to, as I said, we're going to move up item number 6 to 3. And, oh, wait, I got consent calendar first. Sorry. Matt was already in the wings. That's why I already thought I got there. Next item is our consent calendar. All items listed on the consent are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff. Consent items may be approved by one motion if no member of the council or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anyone, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public or the council to address the item. I will now read the one consent item, which is proposed action to approve the draft minutes of the Ridgecrest City Council regular meeting dated February 1st, 2023. Do any members of the council wish to have this item pulled? No. Hearing none, do any member of the public wish to have this item pulled? Hearing none, do I have a motion for approval of the consent calendar as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bruin?
Aye.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam?
Aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
Mr. Gorman?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Item number 6 is now item number 3, and that would be discussion. A resolution to approve an equipment donation agreement between the City of Ridgecrest and Indian Wells Valley TV Boosters Incorporated. Mr. Frizet.
I do apologize. I did jump the gun.
You were sitting there in the wings. I thought I'd already got
I was
to
ready
that
to go.
point.
It's exciting. So,
Frizet.
yeah.
I'm having fun with it. Why shouldn't I at this point?
So I'm here to present the equipment donation between the City of Ridgecrest and IWV TV Boosters. A lot of them are in attendance today. The City of Ridgecrest has been partnered with IWV TV Boosters since 2009 to broadcast the city government channel 41 out into the valley. Mediacom also picks up that signal and rebroadcasts it as government channel 6 through them. So in my staff report, I have in early 2022, the TV boosters came to the city for financial assistance. It was actually November 17th of 2021 after the ARPA workshop. They came, they gave a presentation on the equipment that they had and their end-of-life equipment, asking the council to step in and requesting a little bit of funding there. So council sent that to staff on 5/25 of 2022, and the budget workshop is when that was presented as part of the IT line items and approved subsequently on 6/15 of 2022 in the budget approval. From that point on, I had good communication with TV Boosters. We got in touch with Gates Air, the representative that builds out all these transmitters for them, and put in the order over the summer. Everybody knows chip shortages and how that works. So I, for one, am shocked that we actually have them already, because I know I'm still waiting on some of the stuff that that I ordered before that. So. So before you is the agreement and basically just coming full circle with this project that was originally presented in November of 21. So I'd like to ask IWV TV Boosters if they want to come up to the podium, if they want to address council, if they have anything to say, then I welcome them to say it.
Yes, I'm Wes Katzenstein, the treasurer for the TV Booster, and I want to thank you folks for the energy and the commitment you make for the city of Ridgecrest. I want to read just a brief prepared statement here. The Indian Wells Valley TV Booster thanks the city of Ridgecrest for the in-kind contribution of 3 television translators. The TV Booster has been providing free over-the-air television to the Indian Wells Valley since the 1950s. And FM radio since the 1960s. So we're really carrying on a tradition of folks that this started when I was alive, I'll say that much, 70 years ago. So television and FM stations are received on Laurel Mountain and retransmitted free of charge to the residents of the Indian Wells Valley. The TV Booster currently operates 8 FM translators and 15 television translators, providing 78 digital TV channels at no cost to the communities of the Indian Wells Valley. Stations from Los Angeles and 2 local Ridgecrest stations are rebroadcast, including the station originating from the City Council chambers. The TV Booster service supports the quality of life of residents who prefer not to use commercial suppliers such as cable or satellite. From its mountaintop location, TV Booster extends wide area coverage throughout the Indian Wells Valley to the 2 local TV stations, including the City Channel, which supports the citizenry with City Council meetings, school board meetings, and groundwater sustainability meetings. Members of the TV Booster are all unpaid volunteers. Basically, we are board members, we decide what needs to be done, and then we do it. We do everything. We have a remarkable breadth of capability that allows us to do what we do. Funding is from continuing donations by users, occasional grants from the Wacom Thrift Store, and in recent years, we've had one-time reimbursement grants from the Federal Communications Commission for expenses incurred in implementing changes that the FCC mandated. So there was the digital transition, which they mandated, and they paid back exactly our expenses and no more for that. And then in more recent years, they've reallocated a bunch of the spectrum to other users, forced us to move to different frequencies, but paid us exact expenses that we incurred in doing that. The 3 translators, those items there, donated by the city, will be immediately put into service, replacing 3 aging translators that can no longer meet the requirements of their FCC licenses. The old translators are not repairable since replacement parts are no longer available. Normally, if there were replacement parts, we'd fix them ourselves. That's our history. So that's my prepared statement. I want to remind the citizenry that if you're getting television over the air, it's from us, and feel free to donate. Thank you.
I will add that the TV boosters have been integral with us being able to broadcast to the community. I've spent countless hours with Roy Mayhew over at TV Boosters with configurations, with FCC licensing issues, all that type of stuff, and it's nice to have that resource for us to be able to do our jobs here within the city. So, hats off to them for providing that service free of charge to us as well.
Thank you. I'm going to go and, since there is a resolution, we need to follow certain protocols. I'm going to start with any council comments, and I will go ahead and first with Mr. Blades.
Thank you guys deeply, because I think it's overlooked the service that you provide, and if all of a sudden you weren't here tomorrow, there are members of the community, there are whole portions of the community that I've had contact me, and usually they're just like, hey, something was going on. I couldn't get my TV. I didn't see the meeting. But people wouldn't be able to see the meeting at all if it wasn't for you guys. And I think that I want to keep harping on it. You may have said it, but I really want to pound that home that it's volunteers. You guys are volunteering your time. And Wes, I know you're doing a lot of stuff. You're all over the place, but I genuinely appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Tom?
Just want to thank you for the service you provide to this community. When all communications die, I think you are the ones who we can rely on. So that's awesome. So we are really proud to be part of this project. So thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to provide this financial assistance. Thank you.
Doc?
Sure. I just want the same. I want to thank you for your service over all these years. I've been here about 40 years, and you guys have been here, I know, all of that time. And what it's a great service to the community, and anything we can do to help, I think, is a great to be part of it. So thank you, guys.
Mr. Gorman. Slide your finger. Slide. There you go. And then make sure you pull the microphone up.
So now I better have something significant. I've been admiring and appreciating what you folks have been doing.
You shut it off, Trav.
Goes on. I'll speak loudly.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, I'm in stereo. You do what you do so well and so quietly, we don't even think about you. Thank you.
So I'm going to share my couple quick comments. If you heard me say 2 years, I wasn't implying that you guys took too long in any way, shape, or form. You know, one of the first things that after, again, the election was TV Boosters came and sat down and they gave me a presentation and we talked and we learned so much about the history. And I got to tell you that this is a great step forward for them, but it's far from everything that they need. And I just want to make that plea with the community. If you are out there and you enjoy getting your hands into the electronics and you enjoy understanding these types of things, and you're a hobbyist with radio or you're a hobbyist with those types of things, IWV TV Boosters could truly use your help and your support, okay? Boosters has been here as part of this community. They were the first ones to bring TV into Ridgecrest when there was no chance of it being here. They were the ones that worked on top of B Mountain to make it happen way, way back with the Navy. They showed me pictures of the stuff being hauled up and down the mountain and everything else, and it's amazing the amount of history and willpower that went into making this happen, and it's willpower still today that's keeping it alive. I know it's very easy to take things that are free. It's very easy to just accept them as free because somebody else is picking up the bill. But in this case, the people that are picking up the bill for TV Boosters are people that have been giving their backs already to this community for years and years and years. And the best way you can repay them, guys, if you're using the service, is make a donation or volunteer some time. They need volunteers. They need people in their ranks. And we've talked up on this dais about the need for volunteerism, and what makes Ridgecrest so strong is our group of volunteers. If you have an interest in this hobby, if you have an interest in this field, drop an email to them, get involved. They would love to have you, I promise you. And then secondarily is I want to talk to the boosters directly. You came to me with, we need to do something. And I think it's not just that we need to do it once. Okay? I don't think this is something where one in-kind donation is where we start and where we stop. Because the simple fact is that we absolutely know that our citizens have struggles financially and that we know people are going to continue to have struggles. There are people that have in this community and there are people that have not in this community. We must always respect both sides of the coin. And for those that have not, especially our seniors and our lower income individuals, having access to television, having access to communications at no cost is an absolutely critical service, not simply a convenience. And so this is, I personally don't see this as an endpoint. I see this as a start point. And I think that we have to continue. And so I would reach out to you guys saying, please understand that this does not mean your door was opened and your door was closed, but rather your door was opened, and we want to ensure that our citizens have that service in an ongoing way. And we know that you guys have volunteered your souls and your hearts for it for many years. Hopefully we can get you some new volunteers and hopefully keep you in the technology, because technology only gets faster and more expensive over time. It never goes the other direction. It doesn't ever get, it doesn't get slower and cheaper. That's just what age does, okay? So what I'd like to say is, again, thank you guys for bringing it to us more than anything else. With that, I am going to ask, after we approve the resolution, if I can ask you and my council to join us for a quick photo. I would appreciate that. And I'll turn it to the public. Is there any other public comments on this resolution? Seeing none, is there any public comments on the phone? I'll give it a second. Okay, hearing none, I'll bring it back to the council. Are there any further council comments, or I'll entertain a motion for approval of the resolution?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion second. Roll call.
Mayor Bruin,
Aye.
Mr. Blades,
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam, Mr. Heyman,
Aye.
Mr. Gorman.
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. If I can have you guys join me for a quick photo down below. So do I hold these up and wave them in the air? Or is that a bad idea? And you just don't drop it, right?
Yeah.
Let's not
Get in that
drop
picture.
servers. Come on, guys. Thank you. You want us to go on two sides? Yeah, that would work. Okay, they want the equipment in the picture? Yeah, those are the donations. Those are the donations. That's the good stuff. That's the stuff.
I'll scoot in. I see the camera.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you very much. Sir, thank you. No problem. Thank you, sir. Get it done. Keep it up.
So this vacuum tube is talking to and the vacuum tube says, that all sounds very good, Sonny, but can you blow in your yard? He reminded me, I gotta go.
I don't think it's more sophisticated than you are, considering you're now doing laser guided.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Patty. All right.
What's the warranty on that stuff?
What's the warranty on that stuff?
Well, thank you again to the TV boosters, and we look forward to seeing free television in our community for many years to come.
Yes, sir.
We are now going to go ahead and move forward with what would have been item number 3, that's now item number 4. And this is the discussion regarding needed appointments to council committees, boards, and commissions. Ms. Sharlon, here we go again.
I'm sorry. Mr. Heyman just popped right up as soon as that happened, and it was just funny the way he did that. Yeah, so I understand that, Mayor, you already have some appointments.
And both mine are, one's been submitted, which was Amanda Agam for the Personnel Commission.
Yes, sir.
And David Persifield agreed and has the application. I'm just pending the submission
Okay, yeah,
for
And-
Construction Appeals Board.
yes. And then Mr. Heyman.
I'm pleased to tell you tonight, I do have a person for the Measure V, Nicole Harper, and she has shown a lot of interest in being involved in the city. She's been to many city council meetings, to many of the like quality of life meetings, and so I was really pleased to hear that she was willing to step up to the plate and serve on the Measure V committee, and and that's all I have for tonight, but we'll continue working on the other.
That's okay.
So,
Did she get the application, or do I need to get that to her?
I'm sorry.
The citizen service application, does she have that, or do I need to get that to her?
I will double check. She was going to communicate with you directly, but
That's
I
fine.
will.
Yeah, I'll reach out to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll get her an application. And then, Mr. Blades, you had 2 appointments also. Did you have any?
I do. Bill Ferris is signed up for both of those.
He's such a good guy.
He's a sport.
Okay, so that completes yours. And we are good to go.
And I already sent you an email, right, for construction appeals.
I didn't have that empty for you. I had Mr. Ferguson there.
Yeah, I want to say that again because his grandchildren are here. I want them to hear. So
Are they?
I have, Mr. Ferguson has kindly consented to be on the construction
Okay.
appeals board. So
Thank
thank
you.
your grandpa, okay?
Or I was going to say, is he passing the buck? Is one of those guys have to step up?
That's very cool.
I just want to add, I think in having done this for going on fifth year, that this is probably one of the more difficult aspects of this position. And to find, finding good quality people that are, willing to step up and be part of, what the city does. But glad to see that we are all making headway.
You are all doing great, and just keep in mind that we're going to have to fill that Measure P committee here in the next couple months too, so keep looking for your.
Do we have a
cities-
timeline that we?
Not yet.
That you?
No.
Okay.
We haven't.
April,
I would say. Let's shoot
I would
for
say,
April.
but this is a great time to say. I personally already have mine. I've already been having a conversation with somebody who I think wants to get in that role. But out to the community as well. Please reach out to any one of us if you have an interest in serving in and for your community. Now's the best time ever to speak up and ask. Our arms are wide open, and we've got lots of things that need to get done, and we'd love to have you guys involved. So we will be appointing for the Measure P committee, even if it's not something specifically today, knowing that you have an interest goes a long way. So we'd certainly appreciate it.
So they can also reach out to me, and I can get them an application. I do have 2 applications already that I've received for Measure P. So I can give them out to you guys as well, and you can consider them. But any of the 6 of us can take care of that also and getting them an application.
Can a person who is on Measure V can be on Measure P again?
I am going to ask Mr. Attorney if he would answer that one. I don't know how that works.
Absent any council-imposed rule that you can only serve on one committee or commission, there's no reason why somebody wouldn't be able to do so. And while I have the mic, Mayor, and I just simply don't know what the custom is, but is the council planning to make a motion to confirm these nominations?
We
that were
don't
put in
usually.
place today?
It's usually
Okay.
just appointments.
All right.
Okay. There we go. That's all I need, sir.
It's more of an operating discussion rather than a approved discussion.
Very good.
Thank you. As we usually do it, right? But one of us, what if one of us gets way out of pocket?
You mean with their appointment?
Yeah.
What would be out of pocket if that person is representing that council member's interests?
I'm just
and-
asking the question.
And is chosen to be appointed by, I would say that tradition remains, is that you are asked to seek out the people that you feel hold with the values that you think are important for the direction of the city council.
Sure.
And for the city of Ridgecrest, and each council member has that right to reach out, find those people to discuss, interview, and make that rational choice to suggest them. So I don't think that needs to change personally, because because the only out of pocket would be if that person tried to appoint somebody that was outside of the city of Ridgecrest or wasn't a citizen of the city. That would be the closest to an out of pocket that I would consider a problematic one.
I'm asking the question. Yeah,
He's saying somebody
I was being jovial, but I think
Oh.
it's worth questioning the process, because I did actually
Somebody who
call
had another council
Martin
member
about a
had real
different
problems.
aspect. And I was calling him and asking him about appointments and how we do committees. So the reason I'm bringing it up, because he asked me a very valid question. So are you guys actually confirming and approving? In the past, we'd always kind of given Rick a informal, north and south. Yeah, we're good. But if the council
And
really
that
doesn't
also
have.
that also goes to the power of removal. Is the power rest with a single council member that appointed, or does it rest with the council?
So that's if it's just one person appointing and approving, then I was just asking about the process.
That's a good question.
I think it's a good question that we have not revisited, and if you feel we should revisit as a future agenda item, I would certainly say that that's something to give staff direction to have us revisit it. I personally don't see it as a something that puts our actions at risk, but it's a good question.
I'm just asking the question. The truth is, like Travis just said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And there's no reason to challenge a process that doesn't need to be challenged.
Okay.
Well connected. The person nominated to a committee must be live in the city of Ridgecrest?
Yes.
And also, perhaps this would be a question for Martin. My wife wouldn't mind being on that committee. Would that be legal? Would I be scratching the thin veneer of propriety
it is
in
not
nominating her?
Yeah, it is not illegal, but if each one of you nominated your spouse to the committee, what would that committee look like and what would the
Right.
public think?
And Mr. Raymond's daughter is appointed to the Planning Commission. Daughter-in-law, sorry. I'm just daughter-in-law. I would think that if Denise has a sincere desire to serve, I don't think that it's a negative. But I think DeMartin nailed it best, is we want to understand what our public perception is out to the community. And I think that's where we take those individual appointments very seriously. This is not, I mean, it's February. This is not abnormal for us to be closing up the appointments on schedule right here after the appointment, after the swearing in December. This is very much on schedule. And, you know, I know that the people that I pick and the people that I'm sure each one of our other council members pick, we take the time to actually consider. The Ferguson family being here, a perfect example. Mike has given years of construction knowledge to this community. I can't think of somebody better for Construction Appeals Board. Mr. Percival, who I appointed, he finished the first of one of the multi-billion-dollar construction projects on base. So I think that we are naturally vetting through our own processes sufficiently. Okay. Then I would say, if you choose to, then you choose to.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other items?
No, that's it, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Do I have to ask for public comment on that, Martin? I don't think so, do I? Sorry, can't hear you, bud. You're muted.
Yes, to the extent that there was some action taken by individual council members, if there's a public comment, you might as well
No
receive
problem.
it.
I want to just make sure that I follow the rules. Is there any public comment on our appointments? Seeing none. Any public comment on the phones? Give it a moment. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on with item number 4, pseudo 5, discussion regarding the board of the Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority. Mr. Raymond, you have way too many papers there in front of you.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just ask everybody to kind of bear with me. I have our meeting, this is 580 pages on it for our agenda last meeting, so we're not going over 580 pages, but. Okay, so thank you, Mayor. We'll start, we did have our meeting last week, and I'll begin with a report out of a closed session. I was happy to hear that the report on closed session pertained to the joint defense agreement with the Navy and the Groundwater Authority. That's a good thing. I think it's important, you know, that from the city's perspective, that the Navy and the city are, you know, kind of rowing in the same direction when it comes to the water sustainability future of this valley. And the city and the Navy, we both share many of the same mutual concerns in regards to this issue. And so I just want to take a moment and thank the Navy for their work and thank them for this joint defense agreement that they've entered into. And so moving on to our first major agenda item was item number 9, which is approval letter of interest to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. That was approved. The Army Corps of Engineers is going to be coming in and doing an assessment of the pipeline interconnection project. And so that's good news also. So that was approved. And moving on to item number 10 was the Heritage Village Shallow Well Impact Mitigation Evaluation. That dealt with the Heritage Village well that had gone dry, quit pumping. So there was, it was brought before the board to evaluate or to make a decision on the shallow well mitigation program is designed to help those that have had wells impacted by chronic groundwater lowering. And so during that conversation, it was brought up, there were some very valid points that were brought up by Director Griffin, who's the Water District's representative, pertaining to that well. So I won't get too far into some of those items that he brought up, but I'll cover a couple of them. One was the length of time that the well had been in operation. It had, as you know, he had mentioned that it had been in operation for 30 years, and that was estimated to last 30 years. So there were some other issues that were brought up too, and so the board decided not to make a decision on it at this time. We're going to go back and review some of the issues that pertain to this and that were brought up in that meeting, and so we'll bring it back to the board at a later meeting, maybe the next one. I'm not sure, we don't have it. I don't know the exact date, but it'll be brought back, and we'll go over it again, and we'll make a sound decision on that well. So moving on to item number 10, or item number 11, which was authorize the Water Resource Manager to submit the 2022 Water Year Annual Report to the Department of Water Resources. And so that's our annual report that goes out every year. That report, motion was made by one of the directors to put it off for a meeting because it's not due until April. So he felt it would be better for us to have a little more time to review it. So the board agreed to that. And so we will report back on that probably at the next meeting, because that one is due by April. So I'm sure it'll be on the next month's agenda. So moving on to item number 12 was resolution 02-23, which was to authorize award of contract to Provost and Pritchard Consulting Group for design services for the imported water pipeline. So Provost and Pritchard, that was approved. They will be performing the design services for the pipeline project. That will cover everything from design to permitting, CEQA, the environmental, which is California Environmental, NEPA, the National Environmental Protection Agency. They'll also, it will include land acquisitions and right-of-ways and that type of thing, and the entire pipeline project. So they were awarded that contract. Item number 13 was resolution 03-23, to authorize award of contract to Overland, Pacific, and Cutler, LLC for right-of-way and parcel acquisition services for the imported water pipeline. That pertains to part of what I just said about, the part of the process is to look at where that pipeline is going to traverse and what different lands it's going to go over, whether it's BLM or public lands, and they'll work on right-of-ways where it passes over private properties or work with this BLM, and so this company is specialized in that process, so they'll be handling that aspect of it, and that was approved by the board also. Moving on to item number 14 was resolution 04-23, to authorize award of contract to Provost and Pritchard Consulting Group for the CEQA, NEPA documents and permit documentation services for the imported water pipeline. Provost and Pritchard are doing the design, project, but they will also be handling the CEQA and the NEPA, which it was discussed in the after we, I believe, well, it may have been after we approved it, but or right before, but it was brought up that that's actually going to be a beneficial aspect to have them able to handle both of those issues, because they're the ones directly working on the pipeline. So they'll be covering that the environmental, both state and national. And following that, we had a brief water resources manager's report and general manager's report, and then a PAC report with Dave Janis, and mainly addressing the update on the communications and engagement process, which is we're hopefully going to start implementing here in the near future. So, and I believe that is it. So I'm open to any discussion with the board.
It's a big meeting.
I watched the meeting, so I'm up to speed. I think it's incredible that we're continuing to keep going forward on much of these projects. So
one of the things I'd like to add too is that the money's being spent for Provost and Pritchard to do the design. We were awarded $7.6 million for this from the Department of Water Resources, and so that was a big grant, and is moving us forward in the current fashion. So. There will be a slight overage, possibly when you look at the total amounts. The Provost and Pritchard design, I believe, I'm going to kind of round out these numbers, but they're about $6.4 million. The CEQA NEPA with Provost Pritchard is about 1 million, and then the land acquisition and permitting would be, or warning would be another 400,000. So it comes out a couple $100,000 over what we have. But the ACE, or they use a lot of acronyms. ACE is the Army Corps of Engineers. They will be doing their assessment, and there's going to be some overlap between what the Army Corps of Engineers does and what Provost and Pritchard does. So some of that work that the Army does should be done in lieu of Provost and Pritchard, which will save some money, and they think that with that, it should be pretty close to being on target. So that's all.
Yep. I have nothing else other than to continue to thank you for your service on the GA. I know it's a lot of work. We'll go ahead and start with if there's any public comment from the floor. Seeing none. Before I pull public comment on the phone, I did forget to mention one thing. So actually, I'll do it after I bring it back to council. Okay. Any public comment on the phone? I see we have one person. Caller, go ahead.
Yes, Mike Neal. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. I'm glad Mr. Hammond ended up with the discussion about the imported water pipeline. I'd like to point out that over the years, especially the last 2 to 3 at least, that the GA's been in power, one thing they've completely, totally neglected, even though they've had all the numbers in their hands, is to provide a comprehensive, complete, and easy to understand means for people to understand how much is this pipeline going to cost us. GA is all excited because they got a little over $7 million grant. But if you educate yourself, you realize that this AVIC pipeline is going to be over $200 million. Now, where's that money going to come from? Well, it's going to come from us. We are going to have to pay for it, everybody in this valley. So, since the GA has refused to do it, even though this kind of thing they've been asked for over and over and over, I'm doing it myself, and I'm making a spreadsheet publicly available. People can go to redrunner395.com, where it's currently posted, ready for download, and it's a spreadsheet, and you can put in numbers that you want to put in as far as the cost of the pipeline, the interest rate for the loan, for the things that need to be borrowed for, the term of the loan, and since their 2019 data is all that's available from the GA, 4 years old now, put in a place to put in estimated inflation since 2019. So one scenario that's presented on there without making any modifications is that the AVIC pipeline is going to cost every household in this valley about $100 a month. That's assuming that the GA's pipe dream of getting a $125 million grant giveaway money to help fund this even comes about. If that doesn't come about, it's going to climb up to $130 to $150 per month. So it's out there now, and I'm making it available to any group that wants it. It's open for free distribution anywhere you want to send it, anybody you want to give it to. And I hope that this will get around. I put it on Facebook. I'm going to keep putting it up there so that people can actually be educated about this. That's sad and highly undesirable that the GA hasn't done this, but what they won't do, other people have to take on. You talked about volunteerism. Here's an example for you right here. I'm trying to do what the GA's refused to, and I think the reason they didn't want to, of course, was they didn't want this really known and easily understandable. But it will be now, and I invite anybody who wants to challenge the numbers and prove where they're wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I believe we have another caller. Caller, go ahead.
Say something again to the caller.
Caller, go ahead.
Yes. Good evening, Richard Wagner over on Lincoln Street. I recently got my water bill a couple days ago, and I noticed for some reason the IWVGA fee has gone down like 90%. Just kind of curious as to why that happened. I'm absolutely not complaining. You hardly ever see a decrease. And I meant to call the water district but just haven't done it. And I'm watching right now, and I said, hey, well, let me see if you guys know what's going on.
Any other comments, sir?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I would say if you're still on, Richard, contact the Water District, and I believe they would be able to explain to you how that parlays out on your bill. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll just simply say that I believe they've made changes to their tiers on their water rates, and
I figured
and I don't want to speak on behalf of the Water District. I would just encourage you to reach out to get the conditions on how those tiers function directly from the Water District.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, sir. Yeah, and is there any other calls on the phone? We'll go and bring it back to council. So what I was my kids gave me a cough, and I'm trying to not cough in the mic all throughout the night. Thank you, Skip, for a lozenge. Do we need to have water on the agenda every time? We've heed and hawed with this a couple times. We went back and forth. And my question is, the next meeting we're going to hold is going to be on the 1st of March. Okay? The 1st of March, you're not going to have met. There's not going to be more direction that you have to offer us. And so what my suggestion is that we will continue to have a discussion item regarding the IWVGA, but from a calendar and scheduling perspective, that will be on the agenda following the meeting. But if there's no meeting that incurred in between, then I'm not going to put it on the agenda. So, for example, on the 1st, I would give our city clerk direction to not put the discussion of the IWVGA on the agenda, simply based there's nothing new to discuss because the meeting won't occur until the 8th. And I would like, that's just my personal opinion. If there's council members that have some heartache with that, I'd love to hear it. That's just a perspective. Because it seems like when we have one like this, I mean, my God, my friend, happy reading, is we're getting really good information on what's happened progressively from the GA. In the one before this, we kind of get ourselves into rabbit holes of conversations rather than actual factual conversations. So I'd like to hear other opinions.
I agree with your idea. So, but in case we need to, we can always bring it back.
Oh, of course, we can always add it to an agenda as necessary.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to add was I think it's appropriate because when I don't have anything to report out, I'm not going to report out on bits and pieces of information that hasn't gone before the board because I'm presenting board findings and current update. But in the event that anyone that's followed water over the past 4 years, sometimes there's topics and issues, things start getting kind of heated up. There's a lot more going on. In those events, I'm more than willing and happy to throw it right back on. I sure am not backing down on sitting up here and taking the heat. But the thing is, it is. Well, I'll come out and say that it's kind of a waste of time to have that meeting, following a week that we didn't have a GA board meeting. So, but I'm more than happy to, if the rest of the, council, you guys make your decision, I'm good either way.
Okay.
Heard.
So it sounds like you have a consensus, and I agree with that. But no, I'm the lone dissenter, in that I think that this is the most important topic facing our council. I think it's going to be the most important long after we're not on this council. I just like the idea of giving members of the community a chance to call in, and even if you don't have anything, I understand that, and I understand where you're coming from. I'm not saying I don't get your points. I just like the idea of there being a topic on the agenda for something so important for people to call in and express their grievance towards the council.
Okay. Any feedback from you, Skip? I heard from everyone else, but
I agree with the concept that you offered. Also, if indeed a caller or a visitor wants to comment on the Groundwater Authority situation, this City Council has a chair on the GA, and I think it might be appropriate if they had something they wanted to ask about or comment on, they're invited to.
Yeah, well, that's where public comment, because it wouldn't be something on the agenda, would still be perfectly open.
That's right.
I think right now, if you ask most of the public, a lot of folks don't clearly delineate between the water district and the groundwater authority. A lot of times I think that most people just assume that when they call into any one of those meetings, they're talking to a representative and hopefully their complaints are heard and something's going to be done about it. And that usually happens. This is a small town. It's a community. We're all trying to help each other. I get that. But I've already given my opinion.
Fair enough. Okay. Moving on, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 5, which is the post item number. This is a resolution to approve the appropriation of ARPA funds to cover the topographical mapping invoice of the KM Youth.
Kerr-McGee.
Oh, is this for KMCC?
The Kerr-MGee Sports
Oh,
Complex.
okay. And approve an on-call professional service agreement with KSI Engineering. Okay. That's not what I thought it was.
Good evening, Council. So staff is requesting tonight that the City Council approve the appropriation of ARPA funding to cover the surveying of the Kerr-McGee Youth Sports Complex. This survey was done preemptively so that we could get the topographic map and the boundary map over to the manufacturer of the shade structures that we're going to be placing, if approved by council, over at the baseball fields and as well as on the soccer field. So in the staff report and resolution, you will also find a consultant agreement with KSI Engineering to perform survey and topographic mapping for the city. So you will find a contract for that. So with this, staff is asking that council approve the service agreement with KSI Engineering for on-call survey services and also authorize the allocation of the American Rescue Plan Acts of $28,500 and allow the city manager Ron Strand to execute professional service agreement. If you have any questions, I'm open for them.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. So the key is, this is the first ARPA request that wasn't part of the original ARPA
Correct.
budget conference
Correct.
in October
So-
21.
So the shades were a part of it, but in order to get an accurate estimate to move forward with having the shades installed, we needed a boundary map so that it would identify the different boundaries. Mr. Reed could probably explain it a little better than I can.
With all the increases we've seen with products and things like that, we wanted to be able to have an accurate map so we could accurately depict utilities, existing structures, other interferences that somebody may have with the equipment that they would use to install these, with anything like that that would relate to the actual construction of the project. With the amount of projects that we have that we've been looking at the Kerr-McGee Sports Complex, we felt preemptively surveying it would give us a base map that we could use to actually bounce our ideas between staff and see what was going on, so we would be more prepared when we came to council with projects. So we did the boundary and the topography, so that way now we have a comprehensive base map that we can build from, and we can use, once somebody does their design, we can incorporate that design into that boundary map, into that topographic map. So now we've got a running plan that is digital that can be sent to any consultant, contractor, anything that we need services with. So the on-call services contract is because we have a lot of surveying work that is coming up here in the future. We have 3 current on-call engineering firms. Many of them, and I don't know if it's all, but I know many of them sub that out. So you've got a surveyor, so you're paying a markup for the engineer as well as a markup to us. So if we have somebody that's got the latest and greatest technology, they work well with our department. They're equipped and set up to be able to install monuments that say City of Ridgecrest on it, do all these things. It makes sense to have a surveyor that if we can't handle it in-house, that we can utilize in the future for future projects so we can keep the ball rolling.
Cool. But wouldn't it be subdivided out of an ARPA resolution? I'm not being critical, I'm just saying the problem is that future costs that are incurred through this agreement can't vary under ARPA.
No,
They're
no,
gonna
no.
be general fund.
No, correct. So this project, we are asking for the ARPA funds to cover that portion.
The 25.
The on-call services agreement will be proposal-based, everything that we could utilize later on down the road. It's just so we have another engineering firm in our repertoire for things that are budgeted
So
that we
this is
need.
just the agreement. This is just, you're saying, hey, here's another company that we use for this that we would like to have a professional services agreement for.
Correct.
We're not allocating additional funds to KSI at this time from any of the ARPA reserves.
Correct. Nothing like that. This is just purely, that portion is purely contractual, so we have another on-call firm that we can utilize.
With
services
the,
from.
well, close. We're not authorizing additional ARPA funds beyond the 28.5 that's already
Correct.
been spent.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're clear on how ARPA is delineated from general funds for future.
Absolutely.
Because I understand what you're saying. I fully agree. We're going to need a bunch of surveying. You got Clean California coming, you got our pool projects ramping up. There's going to be more surveying needs. Cool, gotcha.
The ARPA money that's being designated now is the 28.5. That's it.
Okay.
And if council so agrees, I have a professional services budget, we can cover this. This is just purely in anticipation for ARPA projects, so that's why we're seeking ARPA funding for it.
I agree. I don't, why is it coming out of ARPA funding? I just don't.
Because it's,
just don't get it.
if we wouldn't have done it before and had these base maps, it would have just been a cost that we would have incurred with the ARPA project.
As opposed to the project itself.
It would have
We'll
been
that-
seeded
we'll have
in.
that-
It would have
we'll
been seeded in, sure.
Net
Correct.
zero.
I understand. Okay. I guess.
Well, I mean, that's why we're here to consider it. Okay, I will stop with my questions. I'll go this way. Councilman Heyman?
Sure. So when we look at future surveying, it would cover those costs, or, by having this done, preemptively.
Correct.
And so it's going to also include utilities and,
So we have base mapping for the utilities, and what this does is it gives us a 2-scale model of what is existing there, so we can draw in all the utilities, and we now have a running base map of what is there.
right. And so my main question is, in future changes to any of those, will it be updated
100%.
and kept abreast of, like on a yearly basis, or, I mean, I
On a-
guess you could figure that out as you move along, but
Project basis. Anytime we would do work there, we would update the map to reference and show what work has been done, how we altered utilities, how we altered ground, how we altered anything, a structure, whatever. So that way you have literally, like, you have a running model of what's there.
okay, and just so I'm kind of clear on this, you wouldn't require additional surveying once
No,
one of these projects
once all this is
was
done
integrated?
and the base map is done, the additional survey work that we would do would all be in-house with the equipment that council previously approved that we can now
So the
add to it.
long-term savings of this, I see is a pretty promising.
I would 100% agree with you there, because
Yeah.
now that we've got the groundwork set, we've got the base mapping to do. Granted, I don't want to mislead here, because we could have done all the base mapping. I just don't have the staff to have a guy out there to go walk all that
Yeah.
area and do the boundary and be tied up for 3 weeks.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Skip? Nope. Tommen?
KSI Engineering, so is this the first time we are using them?
This would be the third.
Okay, so we are satisfied with their performance the previous?
100%. They do really good work. They've helped us resolve numerous deed issues. They did the survey work of Leroy Jackson Park. We're going to have survey work for Measure the Pool. We're going to have survey work if we do any work out at Pearson Park. And as you know, I'm in the process of testing to be a PLS. We don't have anybody on staff that can stamp record surveys. So anything that sets a physical monumentation out in a road for a property, we don't have anybody on staff that can do that. Once that's established for us, we can do the survey work for the construction inside. We just can't do anything establishing a boundary as of yet. So that's really what we're using them for, is that license to be able to stamp, set boundaries. So this, if the city doesn't delineate what we own, who is going to, right?
So this agreement, Mr. Reed, when you look at the agreement, item number 2, it says the consultant agrees to perform the services and tasks set forth in attached Exhibit A, but we don't have that. So what kind of services we are expecting from them?
I actually placed those exhibits in front of you, Mr. Rajaratnam.
That document was received after the agenda posted, so.
Which one, this one?
Yep.
There's 2 documents in front of you that say KSI on them.
So what you have in front of you there is their rate structure for how they bill for all their personnel and which does things for us. And all their rates are very competitive, being that I've worked with quite a few different survey firms, quite a few different engineering firms, both on grant and in-house projects. The rates are very, very competitive. It incorporates all the prevailing wage stuff that you need for the certain types of trades that require prevailing wage. So it's a comprehensive list of their engineering and surveying service personnel and equipment.
So bottom line is they'll be providing land surveying, geometrics, and geospatial services?
Geospatial.
So
Geospatial
those are the
services.
services they'll be providing, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, Travis, I'm a little slow tonight.
all
So
good.
bear with me, just for a second, because you just got done explaining this. Maybe I got wrapped around the axle. And that is, we're approving the 28.5, right, and the agreement. But then I heard you sprinkled in there that we can do some stuff ourselves.
Correct.
Right? So what's the additional agreement for? And then let me add, because it also says in the resolution that not in the resolution, but in your write-up, that this is for future ARPA projects. So I'm trying to figure out where that line is. What have we paid for? What's the agreement for? And then what are we doing ourselves?
So the actual cost is costs for the survey at Kerr-McGee facility.
That's what I assumed.
The agreement is for, I wrote in there that it's for future ARPA. It could be for any future project that I need to reference a land boundary.
Sure.
What we can do in-house is once those land boundaries are established, whether we need to stake to the CAD drawing that we have for grading, or we need to stake where a building goes, or we need to delineate where our private utilities are that the city owns that are on our property, elevation things like that. That's the stuff that we can do in-house once that's established.
I got it. You just explained that. Yep. Okay. Sorry about that. I told you I'm slow tonight.
No, you're good.
No further questions.
Okay, we'll go ahead and go to the public. Is there any public comment or questions? Seeing none from the floor, I'll go out to the phones. Is there any public comment on the phones? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for final comment. So any future, just to make sure that we've clarified, any future request for KSI would be go through council or would be approved under city council policies?
100%.
Okay. Okay. Do I have a motion for approval of the resolution as presented?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and second. Roll call.
Mayor Bruin?
Aye.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam?
Aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
Mr. Gorman?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Thanks, Narissa.
So next item is item number 6 becomes 7, 7 becomes 6. Here we go. The big item of the night. Item number 7, proposed approval of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest authorizing the Finance Director to amend the fiscal year 22-23 budget to include the voter-approved, locally controlled Measure P funds.
Good evening, Council.
Ms. Frisay.
It's Breeze.
Sorry, I had to do it.
So first, I wanted to mention that the attached salary schedule is incorrect. I do have an updated copy for each of you. I've given that to you. I also have updated copies up here if anybody wants one. What happened was the COLA formula that was used was not populated to all of the positions, so we did correct that. Basically what this one is to approve the amendment to the budget as we discussed during the January 18th council meeting. We will be receiving 1 quarter of payments for Measure P from April to June. So what we would need to do is add or amend the budget to include those funds that we will be receiving, as well as the expenditures that will go along with that. So I have listed everything here. The estimated revenue is $1,475,000. And then we have fire service contracts of $415,000. The restoration of 4 police officer positions for $160,000. The pool design and engineering costs for $500,000. The recruitment and retention of city service providers, which includes a 5% COLA, a increase in medical contribution costs, medical cost contributions, the reinstatement of some key personnel, and also some restructuring of key personnel for $105,000, and then public outreach and events for $75,000. I've also given you each a budget adjustment form that we use in the finance department to actually make the changes to the budget. It includes all of the account numbers and the actual amounts. And with that, I am open to any questions.
Well, sorry for teasing, but this is exciting. Okay, this is fun, people. This is good news. This is our fire service contract paid by Measure P. This is 4 officers back, thanks to Measure P. This is 3 staff members to the department back because of Measure P. This is our pool going into development, thanks to Measure P. And this is your community events being developed, thanks to Measure P. For those out there who may not understand the math, this is 1 quarter of time. So any numbers that you're looking at are for just that single quarter between April 1st and June 30th, because our fiscal year will begin again on July 1st of 2023, in which the cost would then be spread over an entire year. So, that's how these numbers come up, is they are just based on 1 quarter. And I can't say enough how much I appreciate our citizens again for supporting the direction, and that we're able to do what we made. This is again to our city staff. This is not yet the end either. Okay, when budget gets here, we're going to do more with the staff salary schedules. Sorry, my coughing, Mike, I got to try to avoid that. My apologies. But this does include at least a 5% COLA. That's the second 5% COLA this fiscal year. That brings it to 10% this year. Our city staff, we said we would be committed to you. I just want to reiterate one more time. Things don't happen fast, but if we've made commitments to get them done, we're getting them done, and we're getting them done thanks to you, our citizens, supporting this investment in our community and in our staff and in the direction, in making sure that our public safety is protected and that our community is in a developmental state. So thank you very, very much. This came out of finance, and we met, and obviously I can say from the finance committee perspective, myself and Doc Heyman, we're absolutely supportive here. I have nothing else but positive things to say, so I'm going to be quiet and let Solomon go ahead and kick this one off, and I'm going to go suck on a cough med.
So as Mayor mentioned, so these expenses are for 1 quarter.
Correct.
Okay. So fire contract cost $415,183. So we have already budgeted, and that amount would be going to item number 5, recruitment and retention, correct?
That is correct. For the general fund money that we already budgeted, it will be going to the recruitment and retention.
And then item 2, restore 4 police officers position, $160,000. So I think we are saying Per officer, per year, it is 160,000?
Correct.
Correct. Just want to be clear, public to understand also, so that I also understand. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. I think that's all I have for the time being. Thank you.
Mayor, may I add one comment before you push it on?
Maybe.
I just wanted to reiterate that under item number 4 within Ms. Frizet's presentation, it says pool design and engineering costs. One of these engineering costs would relate directly back into that on-call contract that we have for this project to move forward rather rapidly.
You knew I was going to say something about that.
Great.
Well, okay, I'll talk about something else.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say
No,
that.
that's okay, that's okay. Could you explain a little bit more, especially for the sake of the public, how much the city, like that increases to contributions for the medical costs? I think that was, is it somewhere around 18%, is that right?
I feel like the percentage was more like 22.
Yeah.
I do have the numbers.
I'm not trying to quiz you specifically. I'm really asking for the sake of for the employees of the city. I know that they're usually busy doing their jobs in the middle of the day. They're not always paying attention to council meetings. And as I've said elsewhere, I know everybody's good idea of a fun night isn't always city council meetings. But I think it's important that the staff hears that the city's trying to increase that amount to cover those costs.
Right. Yeah. I don't have in front of me what the costs were increased in January, but I know it was a significant increase. So what this would do for those who have medical insurance for their entire family, it would increase it by $300 a month.
Okay. And, God, I had a follow-on question. What was it? When will they see that impact?
So all of this would start April 1st because that's when we're going to be receiving payments. So
If I can pause you real quick right there. I was under the impression that April is when we start actually collecting
correct.
in the
So
city.
you're correct. We're going to start collecting in April. We won't actually receive the payments until the first payment wouldn't be until June.
Okay, okay.
But we, in our financial system, we account that for April.
Makes sense. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheree. We were able to sit in on this last night at the finance, so I don't have any questions pertaining to some of what you've gone over. But I do just want to say that I understand that, fire and police and the pool and all that's important, and I'm really glad to see us being able to move on that. And but most important to me is the last 6 pages of your presentation here on the salary aspect. And so I am really pleased to see us working on this and being able to bring our employees up to proper pay scales and to bring the COLA in and increase medical. And I just wanted to reiterate, and you can affirm this or correct me, but you have also put in future direction on this too, right? As far as looking at the employees, COLA raises and budgeting for, this isn't a one-time effort, correct?
Correct, yeah. One of the things that we're starting to work on with the upcoming budget for fiscal year '24 is specifically salaries and looking at these schedules and seeing what we need to correct. And there are some positions that this 5% is still not going to get them to where they need to be, and we know that. So we are working on getting all of those positions corrected.
Awesome. And hopefully prevent us from ever having to go back to that 10 or 11-year deficit of, addressing this. So commend you wholeheartedly, and to anybody listening out there, you can see that we've been fulfilling our promise to get this handled. So good job.
Skip. I just wanted to reiterate something that Doc said, and for her out there listening, former Mayor Peggy Breeden, former Council Member Peggy Breeden. First step done. First step done.
Second.
Second step, well,
We got that study done and we started. That was.
I would say, I went from the study.
That was a beating. First
Yeah.
beating handled. Second step done.
2019, I still remember meeting with the staff during the first campaign cycle, and when are we gonna deliver? Government does not work fast, people, and it takes the commitment of our citizen, but we're one more step closer, one more step closer.
Yes, sir.
With that, I will go ahead and push it out to the public. Is there any public comment from the floor? Appears there might be one, and we're thrilled to have you.
Are the COLAs coming March 1st?
I think it's April 1st. April 1.
Okay. Sean Connolly, wastewater operator.
What's going on?
City of Ridgecrest. Yeah, thank you for taking another step. We really appreciate it. I mean, this affects a lot more than just the people I represent, but I'm definitely one of the people always trying to hammer in what I can, and hopefully looking forward to this next restructure of quite a few positions on that salary schedule coming in July with the new budget. You know, middle of the year, it's hard to crack open the bank and give out a bunch of money, but I'm happy to see another step being taken care of. I was told March 1st by Mr. Strand, but sounds like April 1st, so.
Good question. I'm not sure.
We'll see.
We're still discussing it.
Okay.
So I will be communicating with all of staff to let you know
Yeah.
what the actual date is. And it's more, what's affecting it the most is the medical contribution, because as you know, we pay for a month in advance. So we have to take that into consideration as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see how it all falls out, but we definitely appreciate it. You know, you guys have made good on your word, you know, little steps at a time, and we're making progress. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Any other public comment from the floor? Seeing none, it looks like we got one on the phone. Caller, go ahead.
Yes, this is Mike Neal. Some of this just got cleared up, but other parts are still clear as mud. So I have a couple of things I'd like to get clarification made on. It was stated that this is all for the quarter year's worth of funding. However, item 2, the fire contract costs, I hope that's for the entire year of increased fire contract costs, because if it's not, then that means we're paying $1.6 million. We were never told it was going to be that much, even 6 years out from now. You can clarify that in a minute.
It is for 1 year.
Okay, that's 1 year. So do that, and that's the kind of thing I think was missing from the agenda that could have helped people understand this a lot better, because it was certainly not clear what was for a year, what was for a quarter of a year. And with respect to that, on item 5D with these other positions, listening to what's being said and dividing all those total salaries by 4, but then adding another 22% or therefore to that, I don't come up with 105,000. I come up with about 78,000, something like that. So clarification is required on that one. The last one, more clarification, is number 6, public outreach and events. I'd like to know how much of that figure is for salary expense, and the rest of it obviously is going to be for other expenses involved with that kind of thing. Before I get off, let you provide these answers, I'd also like to point out that the pitch for Measure P was, in my mind, is clearly obtrusive in that they said, well, we need 4 more cops. Have ever remembered, talked about or discussed or stated that we also want a police dispatcher, a records clerk, and a kennel attendant, all of which are police positions. So they weren't pitching for 4 more police department jobs. They were pitching for more like 7 or 8 more position jobs. And kind of like the pool where we were told it was going to be 9 or 10 million, and now we find out it's going to be 14. It's not going to be a pool; it's going to be a pool complex. Now we find out after the money's being approved and you're getting it in your hands, that there's a lot more police department positions than were ever actually clearly made to the public. So anybody who wishes to can answer up to that one too. So I'll get up here and listen to your answer.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other callers? Okay. We'll go ahead and bring it back to council. Any other council comments in regards to the resolution?
I do have one correction in the resolution. The last whereas during the January 18th, it should say 2023, not 2022. So that's the only correction.
And Mayor, if I may?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Since it appears that the date of March 1st versus April 1st is not certain, the attached salary schedule, which is going to be acted upon, should have that date removed from it for the time being.
I can make that change.
Should it be removed or should it be approved with the April 1st date? It almost sounds like we need to make the decision if you guys aren't prepared to, with it being 2 weeks from now. Because we're not going to have another meeting before then.
So one of the concerns as far as the March 1st date was the changes of the schedule in the financial system to make it all effective. And with HR being off this week, I wasn't able to communicate with her to see if she would have enough time to do that. So that was one of the other things that's holding us up. But if you would like them to be effective March 1st, we can go ahead and push and get that done.
It can also be retroactive, I presume.
It can happen. We'll make it happen.
You'll make it happen for March 1st?
I can talk to Trish, we'll get it done.
Is that the will of the council?
I'm in favor.
I'm looking at Cherie and Rika. If you guys give it the north and south, and I trust, but.
Then I'll trust the staff.
I can, well, I'll help Trish get it done.
Well, you guys always get everything done. That's not the question. What I want to know is if it's realistic.
It is. For the COLA's portion, it is realistic for March 1st. For the medical, like I told Sean, because we pay a month in advance, so for our April medical insurance, we pay that in March.
And the salary schedule does not apply to the cafeteria, correct?
Correct.
So this can be effective for March 1st if they can't get cafeteria completed until April 1st.
Correct.
Then let's do it.
That's fine? Am I correct in my assessment?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Martin.
You're welcome.
Any other?
No, just, I guess I just wanted to comment on, not necessarily right back to Mike Neal, but on the spirit of Measure P and everything that's being done here. I've said it a few times in council meetings, but I think it always bears repeating. None of these are done lightly. I don't like willy-nilly spending tax dollars, right? But what the council did say out to the public adamantly is we're going to go out and we're going to try and fix the problems that we see with the community. We see these problems, X, Y, Z. This is us attempting to fix those. We're doing what we said we would do. So Cherie, you've been a large part of that, and I appreciate that help. And we'll keep marching forward. Thank you.
I'll break my golden rule for the first time in 2 years, but I believe, Chief, you presented on the staffing needs last year multiple times. That I believe that the idea that we needed a kennel assistant has probably been talked about at this. Doc, you're the longest one standing here since 18. How many times has Mary Stage knocked you up for a kennel assistant?
It's been a concern all 5 years.
Yeah,
Four
exactly.
years plus.
So I don't want to get into an argument of back and forth, and I'm not going to. But to say that this has not been openly been discussed at our committee meetings or at council is, we'll just call it another one of those far-flung stories. So, anything? Skip? Okay, great. Okay, do I have a motion for approval of the resolution authorizing the finance director to amend the fiscal year 22-23 budget to include the voter-approved locally controlled Measure P funds?
So I move to approve with the amendments that we made. Right, didn't we just make some changes with the dates?
No, I think we just sticking.
Or did you just
to
leave
this.
it?
Yeah, we're staying with March 1st on the salary schedule.
Yeah.
I think he's referring to the incorrect date on the resolution.
Oh, my apologies. Thank you. Thank you, sir. That's correct.
Second.
Do I have a second? Second. Roll call?
Mayor Bruin,
Aye.
Mr. Blades,
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam, Mr. Heyman,
Aye.
Mr. Gorman,
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you for that, Kyle. I missed that piece.
Dude, I'm out of it tonight.
You're still on top, but sometimes we're not. Trust me. Okay. I have lost my agenda and now must find it again. Committee reports. We got a few of these today.
So what I've done is, instead of just putting the meetings that were held during the last 2 weeks on there, I've listed all of them and they'll stay there, but you can see where it'll say that there was a meeting, but if you look down further on, it says next meeting on 2/14. So they're all going to be listed there so that the dates are on the agenda and people know when the meetings are.
And if the meeting has occurred, then we're going to go ahead and discuss it? Or
Yeah,
okay.
it'll say report from that meeting date, where if it hasn't occurred, it'll say next meeting is.
And the reason why I'm asking is because finance met yesterday.
Did I
And
do
it
it
still
wrong on
says
this one?
next. And that's why I'm just clarifying that we're still good, even if it says next meeting, we
Oh.
can still discuss it.
Yeah, I didn't realize when I was posting the
Yeah,
agenda
it's no
that
big
this is
deal.
the 15th and they
Yeah,
met
yeah,
before.
let's
So,
make
yeah,
sure that it's fine.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, first committee is City Org, myself and Mr. Gorman. We met on the 2nd. City Org continues to work diligently on our several of our local programs, but obviously our first and foremost focus right now has been on the trash implementation. We got reports on multiple of the things that are going on. We are communicating with our vendor Waste Management. We're communicating with our citizens. We are continuing our education and outreach efforts. Anybody who happened to donate food to the Salvation Army to one of my kids outside North Albertsons got a magnet. I think I distributed about 1,500 magnets. I don't know how many were in that box, but it's empty. And we've been distributing magnets. I got the pleasure of attending a program called Eco Hero, which had its first 2 sessions today, one at the Emmanuel Christian School and one at St. Anne's. These were school-wide, auditorium assemblies, and got to meet Echo Sam and dance with some kids. And, the goal of this is to educate the next generation, because they are the ones who probably will have the greatest influence on the current generations. There's nothing like telling a 5-year-old, I don't want to recycle when they want to make every effort possible. So, yes, I'm using our children as blatantly as I possibly can. Sorry, I just say that because my kids have made a greater impact in my household's implementation than I ever would have imagined in the first 45 days, and I've said that now here twice. But the implementation of this program is not the worst thing in the world. I understand people have some concerns about the biweekly, and we've had some route issues, and we've had challenges. Nobody's saying that we haven't. But the commitment is no doubt there from the city to make sure that we get the communication to you and that we try our very best to get it right. The other things we discussed at City Org was some of the upcoming elements. I'm trying to remember from my notes. Skip, I'll let you go for a second while I pull up my notes from my...
I'll talk while
my pile's not nearly as
I have
as
one more
comprehensive
cough
as yours.
drop. I'll pass it his way.
I'm going to make it through, trust me.
I wasn't at the City Org committee meeting. I think Rika sent me off to space camp during that time.
Junior councilman camp.
That's it, new councilman camp. I'll talk for a moment about that, so you can really sit back, Eric, and
Okay.
take a deep breath. It turns out when you're newly invested as a city councilman here, and I'm sure this applies to communities all over the state, you're, I guess, obligated to go off to new councilman camp, is what I call it. It has a more formal name, and I think it's a great idea. This year, they had one in Southern California and one in Northern California later. Thank goodness I went to the one in Southern California. It was in Studio City, a place I haven't visited much, at a Sheraton, and under the auspices of
It's right next to Universal Studios.
yeah, Universal Studios there. I didn't get in. It's sort of a pint-sized Disneyland. That was my impression. But people say they like it. There were 350 attendees of new councilmen and new mayors, and more than a few city managers. And we sat at these round tables, and after a little buffet, a modest buffet breakfast, I wrote a trip report. Turns out you don't have to, but I was just sort of used to it from working on base. When they send you off to travel, you write trip reports. Came automatically. I was at the end before I knew what I was doing. Everyone was friendly and gracious. We traded cards and listened mostly to lectures. I won't call them lectures, but that's what they sounded like, by lawyers and office holders and analysts about this and that. Two of them were obligatory, where you get a little certificate affirming that you've got those things checked off under your name as an office holder, or I guess an employee of this building. Yes. Yep. And I mentioned the classes that I thought were particularly valuable, and the rest were okay. I'll read this next paragraph, the end paragraph. There was a satisfying value in learning from my peers that many of our civic problems and community peculiarities are indeed being experienced by other city officials elected in California. Unfunded state mandates and the relentless erosion of local civic empowerment were cited as universal issues and were given as important rationales for the League of California Cities. That was the outfit that sponsored all this, to remain energized and to vigorously promote intra-city collaboration and community independence. The impression I got was that Cal Cities is a necessary pushback lobby, or I hope if it isn't, it becomes that way. We need one. Quote, if you are not at the table, you may be on the menu, unquote, was quoted as an informal engagement motto. It certainly got my attention. We swapped business cards. By the way, the city gives you business cards when you get up here. It's super good-looking business cards. I handed out a bunch of them and found out that councilmen and mayors and city managers of other little communities all over the state are just like us. In fact, there's a sub-community called the Desert/Mountain, I don't know if they call it a division?
Yeah.
Division?
Yeah, it's our Desert Mountain Division.
That get together now and then.
Yep.
Because we're strange. We're not like big city people. And that's it. Now, you're all recovered. I'll step back.
Still second, don't worry.
A little bit. I was going to say a little bit more about the League of California Cities. And that is that they do push back against the state on certain bills, and they have been successful at times when appropriate. So they do have some amount of power. The league is broken up into several different divisions. The reason they're broken up into those divisions because we face some of the similar issues as there's towns in our proximity, and it helps
I was gonna, I know Solomon had to go through the training in 20, and I did too. Did they still do dysfunctional council?
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yes, it is. You learned a lot.
You learn a lot about dysfunctional council. But it's a great exercise in understanding how decorum in how we function as council members and elected officials is so important. The only other thing I had from City Org was we are continuing to work on options with the Cal Recycle grant, and compliments again to our city staff for all the work they're putting into the implementation. It's not an easy process, but we are we're on the tracks. We're going down the road. There's been a bump here and a bump there, but I think we're still on our way to the end goal. Next committee is, I lost my agenda again. Quality of Life, Parks and Recs. Parks and Recs met last Tuesday. These are fun meetings, but I got to tell you, citizens, we'd love to see you out there. Please come share your information. Like Mr. Corlett brought up today, and I apologize if I completely forgot something. I'll be the first one to own up to it. But these quality of life meetings are so important because they give us so much feedback on what we need. We covered most of our old business and our new business. We also spent a lot of time discussing with Councilman Gorman, what do some of our acronyms mean? Where are we at on projects? Where's the process been going through? That includes, the pool project, the possibilities with Helmers Park, the ARPA projects that are either completed or are in the process of being completed. We did discuss two new business items. One was the shade structures at KMCC, which we are expecting to come in, and that NERSA approved the $28,000 for today. The other one was in the October meeting, October 2021 ARPA workshop, we talked about the fields over at KMCC. And one of the discussion points that the Quality of Life Committee had at this meeting, which may make some people happy, may not, I'm just being very upfront with it, is me dropping pens. It appears that KMCC needs more than simply a field replacement or new grass or something else. Lights were brought up this time, concessions have been brought up, bathrooms have been brought up, fields have been brought up, shade has been brought up. And what I said is, as opposed to us saying, yes, we're okay with the Parks and Rec Department continuing to move forward with a single field for the pony field in terms of a turf possible replacement, is that we think that there's probably a much larger project scope that needs to be discussed on KMCC that probably, unfortunately, will move it further behind some other projects that are in the queue right now. But we need to do KMCC right, not just continue to throw Band-Aids on a bleeding wound. And I still remember, I haven't been out there. I don't have kids that play baseball. I understand how important it is to this community. I'm not downplaying that in any way, shape, or form. But like, perfect example is I said, they said we have to replace the light poles. I said, what's wrong with light poles? And then they said they're made of wood. Well, that's a pretty big problem. Okay. That wouldn't be a normal problem, but then you find out that the light poles are made of wood. They have light fixtures on them that are highly inefficient and highly expensive from a bulb perspective. And then they say they want another field, so we need more lighting over there. And then so I think there's just a complexity in what KMCC needs, that the direction from that committee was, we don't want to see this piecemeal, but rather have Parks and Rec focus on completing the projects that they have and work on a more comprehensive overhaul of KMCC that needs to be brought forth to the council at a future date. Again, that may not be as popular to some people as they would like, It doesn't mean that we're ignoring KMCC in any way, shape, or form. It's just that we got to get an accurate list of everything that wants to be done and put it together to do the work, because we keep throwing Band-Aids at problems. And that's not going to, if you have gangrene in your leg and you can and you keep cutting off a toe, you're never going to solve the problem. We need to fix the whole problem, not just part of the problem. And there's the possibility of what we have left at the end of ARPA. There's also other grant opportunities. There's how our city performs. There's a lot of things we can look at to address this problem, but doing it in pieces doesn't seem like the solution. The other things we talked about were largely progress on many of our other projects. The shade structures for the softball fields are imminently, finally looking like they're coming, and the work for the Clean California grant projects are coming. We're expecting to see late third quarter, fourth quarter, and into first quarter, a lot of these parks level projects queuing up. We did have a discussion about the Pearson Park bathroom as well as the Leroy Jackson Sports Complex bathroom. One of the things the communities understand is the price tag on these is going to be higher than what we originally expected, largely based on what we need to do properly for ADA and for connecting connections. We want to put them in the right spots and we want to make sure they're accessible. So there's going to be some additional work that needs to be done, and they're already working on that. I don't have anything else from youth soccer registration's going on right now. It ends this week. If you're interested in having your children get involved with youth soccer, now's the time. And that this summer we'll have our Creative Brain classes back. And I think that was about it. Anything else from you, Skip?
Not much. I actually was at this committee meeting. It was my first committee meeting. There, I urge anybody, okay, the previous one we just talked about, City Org, is known in our family as the Trash Committee. And this one, Quality of Life, is called, in our family, the Pool Committee. To us, those are two important committees. I'm still, because I'm new at this, and these acronyms still bowl me over a bit, I'm a fish in the flood and half a pace beyond everything. So I'm so happy that Eric offered the narrative to what the Quality of Life Committee was up to. I didn't know a thing about the Clean California activities. And Narissa was mercifully easy on me. That's it.
What are you going to say? Because I forgot one thing. I'm going to see if you. Yeah,
No,
I'm going to let you because I
Nope.
think you're going to say it.
I'm not. I just have a bunch of questions. So go ahead and finish up. I just have some questions for the Parks and Rec Committee.
My last one was just as a reminder. This is tentative right now. This is not in stone. Look for more announcement, but we believe that with the approval of item number 7 this evening, we believe that at the March 7th Quality of Life meeting, we will have first draft conversations in regards to pool design at that committee meeting. And if we will make sure that there's active communication with the community.
Okay, yeah, I was probably going to bring that up. But I also want to ask the Parks and Rec Committee a few things. These are lower level items, but they're items that members of the public have brought up to me for Parks and Rec. One of them is in the gymnasium, soundproofing. Because I think it's in other, I think you see it in St. Anne's and a few others. Has it ever been brought up or thought about? No.
The movable partitions that are going in have a better sound deadening quality than the ones that were there. But as far as completely soundproofing, the partitions are elevated off the floor. It'd be pretty hard to.
No, I'm not trying to do that. But I mean, I think if you look in some other areas, you see there's certain, there's things up on the wall. There's sometimes things hanging that'll help deaden the sound.
For deadening echo.
I'm not trying to make it a chamber, that would be unrealistic
I
and
get what
way
you're
too
talking
expensive. But you see what I'm saying?
You're talking about deadening echo, like they would put in a drum room or a studio or something so you don't get feedback.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. It's a few parents have brought that up. I'm bringing it up to you guys. You may do nothing with it. But it's out there, and I hope that you can at least consider it.
So do I say, we will?
Yeah, well, please do. Thank you, Travis. The next thing I wanted to talk about is I've had parents ask about classes, the various classes that you do. Now, in our last meeting, it was informal. I asked you, Narissa, how are things going? How are the classes doing? You seem pretty positive about that. And I think that's a good thing, because there's a lot of stuff not offered at the schools anymore in the public school system. Some of those are, there's all kinds of ideas. And are you always looking for new ideas? Or are you, okay. One of those was music that came up. It's come up quite a bit. And I know you were working on a class, but a music program has been brought up. Anything related to the ROP classes that used to be, or things that get brought up.
What does ROP stand for?
That's a good question. But the ROP classes were, I forget what the actual acronym stood for, but it's like there was a nursing ROP class, a criminal justice ROP class, a construction ROP class.
Was it?
So basically what you would do, so one of those elect classes in high school is you would go learn how to do construction, or you would go to the criminal justice class and learn how to, informally write police reports and learn about crimes. They were very good classes. I was in several of them and got a lot out of them.
I have the answer. I Googled it. Regional Occupational Programs, ROP.
Yep. So public school system can only do so much. And if we're helping out to fill that void, maybe it's something we could think about. Right. We have a world, the world's changing a bit. The same value that was put on degrees yesterday is not put on it today. Trade schools are more and more important, I think. So I think that it's all things the city could be thinking about. Over.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Okay. Well, that's all I have for that committee. Economic development?
We did meet on February the 8th. We talked about, so there wasn't a whole lot that came out of the meetings. A lot of it was us just talking at each other. Okay.
Great map came out of that meeting.
Yeah, yep. We talked, one of the topics of discussion is software. It's called Placer AI. The community probably does not remember, we had talked about something called Buxton. We had approved it, the city used it. It was not that useful. A lot of details. Moral of the story is we canceled the contract. The city canceled the contract. We're talking about another program. It's called Placer AI that gets analytical data off, gives you demographics. It gives you numbers for whether you're leaking business, where business is going, frequented. When we walk around these big symposiums, the big one I go to is called ICSC. It's always helpful to have Placer AI because you can walk, I'm going to make this up, this is not real. If you walk up to, let's say, a Wendy's, I want to be able to tell Wendy's, I have this many people with this is the income, this is the median income, this is the demographics, this is the traffic count that goes by, and a program like Placer AI does those things. So it's very handy. However, it's a small, the times that you need it are important, but it's not all the time. So it's an ongoing discussion. We are actually planning to ask Tehachapi, because Tehachapi uses it, if their assistant city manager will call into one of our committee meetings and discuss it with us, how they use it, if it's actually worth the money. And if it's not worth the money, then we don't need to spend it. I'm not advocating to spend money. So that came up as a discussion. You've already talked a little bit about the Night on Balsam. There's no reason to rehash that. Economic Outlook Conference, Solomon touched on that. We talked about projects, development project updates. There isn't a lot other than we know our consultants continuing to market the Kmart building. We want to see something in there. Mojave View Apartments are taking applications. That's all that comes to mind. Do you have anything, Solomon? No.
And last would be Finance Committee. Finance Committee met yesterday, and we got our tax update. We got most of our budget and discussion item updates, and everything else was preparing largely for the discussion this evening. Correct. Each council member received their pretty little hardbound today. This is the ACFR.
It's so affectionately known as the CAFR.
ACF. I asked yesterday. I said, just what another mouthful acronym. Each council member, I'm asking for finance to be able to put a bow on this and present it at the meeting for March 15th. Is if you have a chance to review it and you have anything that are, even if they're the minor changes, but changes that need to be made prior to that time frame, we're asking for those changes by the end of the month if possible. If not, the first week of March, so that the finance director and her team has time to put everything together in a timely manner.
I got a couple of weeks to review all this.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, a couple weeks. The key is that I know there's that when you get into some of the numbers, you're not gonna, but just if you got things that feel out of place or my fine-tooth friend right beside me to the left, if you find something, we want to make sure that we make the corrections before we get to that meeting. Which is, I think that was the only things out of finance you've made.
Yeah, I concur.
There's nothing, wasn't a heavy meeting.
Can we make corrections to this?
Word corrections and things like that to this can still be made, correct?
No.
So
No.
why did you tell me?
I'm not doing my homework.
For our information.
What I missed then?
You were spot on, but we're going to find out.
So this document is put together by our auditors. The books have been closed. There's no corrections that can be made to the numbers. But the auditors are giving a presentation on the March 15th meeting. So if you have any specific questions for them, they would be able to answer them.
I thought it was changes, so.
No, I was-
My apologies. No. Thank you for my interpretation. But nothing else. Anything from you? Okay. And that we'll begin to see, the budget things coming up. One of the other things we got is we got our calendar for budget events, and if you've paid attention to city government, how it runs, you finish one and you start into the next one, and budget season is coming up on us fast. No RECVB, no infrastructure. Other committees, boards, or commissions?
Nope.
Solomon, anything?
No.
Nothing for me. Skip report on Cal Cities. Anything for you? Okay. Next would be our deputy city manager report. Welcome to the dais.
Thank you. It was a little surreal, but anyways, as you guys know, we had a night on Balsam, and I think Isabel would like to make a little presentation about the event.
No presentation. I also wanted to bring Carrie and Chloe up also because they were a huge help in the Night on Balsam event. So if Carrie wanted
thanks.
to
Come on up.
come down also.
You don't want to? Nope. Okay, we'll ask you questions.
Well, so as you guys know, we had the Night on Balsam event on Friday, and I just wanted to first off just start by saying huge thank you to everyone who was able to make it possible. So I'm just gonna go down my whole list of thank yous. So to our sponsors, the RSAVB, the Chamber, Catering Time, Raw Media, the DI, to our volunteers, to RPD, to PAC, to city staff. Rika, thank you for Parks and Rec, the streets, IT. I cannot tell you how amazing it was just to see all of us come together and just get it done. It was so great. Everything flowed. It moves like clockwork. Like, you should have seen like the effort everybody put in. It was great. And thank you to the businesses on Balsam Street and the food vendors and the wine vendors for being there, the ones who participated in the event. To the DJ and the band for providing music for the event. And most importantly, thank you to the community for coming out and showing up and showing support and just letting us know that this is something that is definitely much needed in our community. I could tell you, I've lived here for 2 years, and I've never seen anything like that or experienced something like that, like in Ridgecrest as like a community. It was really great to see. And it's something that we can't wait to really expand and kind of grow. We do have a survey out. It's on our city website. And so please, if you did go, put your input, any suggestions or concerns that you have. I have been looking through it. And the main consensus is more room, more vendors, more everything. So it's something that we are looking into, and we are reading, and and it's something that we definitely want to implement into the next one, because this is something we would want to keep doing in the future. And so, yeah. So go to our website, take our survey. And if you want to be up to date with Ridgecrest events, we do have a Ridgecrest events page on our website also. So just keep a lookout for that if you want to know what's going on with the city. And thank you to Waste Management for providing trash cans and porta potties. And Carrie and Kalai, do you guys want to say anything about it? Carrie?
I will. I've been doing events in this town for who knows how many years now. And working with the city was a pleasure. City staff was wonderful. I've worked with city staff at the Kerr-McGee Center forever, but really just to see them get out and just work, it was, things just went really smoothly. So I, again, just echo that. Thank you to the city staff, because it really was a good event. And the other thing was the demographic at this event of the attendees was very different than we see at other events. So that was really encouraging. So it was very much like the 25 to 49-year-old that we don't see at the fair, that we don't see at the Petroglyph Festival. So that was great. So I think we're all just super excited that this is the first of many, and we only have room for improvement from here. So thank you.
No, thank you guys. Like I said, this really was a team effort, and it was great to see everybody come together and work together just to give the community what they want. So, yeah.
Now just prepared to do it again.
Oh, yeah. It's something we definitely want to do again in the future and really improve. I know there was hiccups and, some stuff we could improve on, but it's we're ready for another one.
I'm going to go ahead and say something I've said now twice tonight, but I'm going to say it a third time because I got to say it a bunch that night. There's an old adage that when a president's elected, the first 100 days is how their administration is going to be judged. And I always say that Night on Balsam was 91 days after the passage of Measure P. And if you want to set a tone for how we're going to take and work, thank you, staff, for making it happen.
Chloe, thanks.
Thank you, Chloe. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No,
Okay.
we're excited, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to you, Mr. Manager.
So the only other thing I have to really report to you guys is to let you know that Carmageddon is coming.
Carmageddon. Carmageddon already arrived today, didn't it?
Yeah, but that one I didn't have a part in. Yeah, this one will have a part in. Phase 2 sewer. As of right now, we're working through a couple of issues that we've seen on Ward and trying to address those before we get started so we make it go faster. But we are probably expecting Carmageddon to start sometime in mid-March. That won't be when we're on China Lake Boulevard, but that'll be when we start down towards Richmond. Ward Street's progressing, and I just wanted to let the council know and the community know that our Measure V 2022 paving project will begin with saw cutting tomorrow. So there's going to be asphalt flying real soon.
And Carmageddon begins.
And Carmageddon will begin.
The joke inside, for those of you who are listening and going, what the heck do they mean, Carmageddon, the word Armageddon, but replaced with car, and it's because there is construction work that will be going on, as was described at previous meetings, going from Richmond down California Boulevard, California Avenue to China Lake, and then north along China Lake all the way up to Argus.
Correct.
And that will interrupt our lives, but it is 75-year infrastructure that we need to complete and put in place so that when we get to the end of 24, the beginning of 25, when we break ground on the wastewater treatment plant, we have done the work that needs to be done to make it the most successful it can be. So Carmageddon's coming.
Yep. And that's all I have.
Well, thank you, sir. Future agenda items. Any future agenda items from Solomon?
Not for me.
Gentlemen? And then last would be mayor council comments. We'll start from right to left. We'll let Skip be the first tonight.
Oh, I really appreciate that. I guess I could wax on about a lot of things, but tonight, perhaps significantly, I'll mention the Sidewinder missile. Been in the news lately. And in fact, there's one right outside made out of sewer pipe and rebar, just bursting with pride, as I did. I'm surprised somebody hasn't tied a helium balloon to the blast area of that missile outside. It would make a poetic statement. God bless Sidewinder. We've got to be the only community in the known universe that has a community air-to-air missile. I sure enjoyed the news in that regard. I wish I knew the details. Somebody ought to crawl out from under, someone ought to step forward and share with us what details they could. I'm looking forward to it. But Sidewinder, bravo. That's it.
I would just, since I think the Balsam Street night was probably the biggest positive event we've had in Ridgecrest in quite a while, I just want to say again, I think it was a great success. I was in one of the stores in the later part of the evening, and I did see Carrie, and I don't know if it was the two of you, because I only saw the backside of the person in front of you, but they were working hard and had shopping carts full, and I thought this must be happening pretty excitedly. So I did a drive-by and drove around, and I was kind of shocked when I first drove up to it, and I made big circles around it and was looking at it from different angles and looking at the people coming in and, like you said, the age groups, and I was thoroughly impressed. And then when I heard some of the numbers and talking with our city manager later, it's like this was pretty huge and positive event for the community. So again, congratulations to everybody that played a working hand in that.
Solomon?
Just want to appreciate the hard work our staff is putting in, and also want to thank the Finance Department and the Finance Committee for a job well done to taking care of different issues. And then, so we are at a point where, we are at a point where we can, no need to turn back. So we can only move forward with what is happening. So that's a great thing for our community. So thank you very much for taking care of the finances. We really appreciate that. And earlier I mentioned about EOC. I forgot to mention one thing. I guess I can say this. The MC for the event is our own Travis Reed. So
Don't embarrass us.
thank you.
Kyle? Nothing. He's definitely turned over a new leaf today. I only have one, small minor thing to end with. I want to thank everyone for a great meeting. We approved the design contract, budgeting for the pool. We took care of our staff. We looked at the future direction of a lot of things. We celebrated our community coming together for Measure P, for the Night on Balsam. And I mentioned earlier that Night on Balsam was the 91st day, and I was a little off. I didn't realize that, and I had to do the math again for myself, because that was on the 10th. So that was actually the 95th day, which is very cool. But everything we approved today marks the 99th day. That means in 99 days since you, our citizens, made the commitment to us, your city, that you want to see us invest in this community, 99 days later, we have approved the budget changes. We will have a plan design. We will have our first draft, hopefully, by the 7th of March for this pool. We are taking care of our staff and making sure that they are properly compensated for the amount of effort that they've continued to give this city. Our IT services are continuing to be improved. We're going to have a robust and very cool Wi-Fi campus here shortly that's going to match the wonderful new partitions and flooring that's been put into Kerr-McGee, that are going to match the continued work being done in our Parks and Rec, that are going to match the continued efforts of the GA and everything that they're doing to make sure that our water is protected, our public safety has been protected, our police force is going to get not only the officers but the staff they need. Not sure about everyone else out there, but I think that's a pretty goddamn good example of what we're doing right. So with that, I'm very proud to say, let tomorrow be day 100, but for tonight, day 99, let's all celebrate. Have a great night. We'll see you guys again on the 1st of March.